Days. I'm Mandy Gunasekara, filling in for Gerard here today on SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm delighted you are here with us, and I also want to remind you to be a part of the conversation. Just send us a text on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Remember, do not text and drive. And now I will get right to our next guest. I'm very excited. We have Mr. Clay Adcock, who is from the South Delta. He's a farmer out there who has been living the issue of the Yazoo backwater pumps. Now, Clay, good to see you.
Good morning, Mandy.
Good morning. Now, let me set this up just a little bit. I like to say this issue is near and dear to my heart. I worked on it when I was at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And, I learned about it because I'm from Mississippi. People talk about it. But when I was at EPA, it was a project that came across my desk. And it's something that I believe should be done, not just because I think so, but because the facts, the science, the history, the data are all there to support this as a balanced a balanced solution to a very serious issue. And a brief history here, this was back in the 1940s. The U.S. Army Corps came up with a drainage project. And for the area here, there were three key features. The entire project was essentially built except for three key features. Here in the South Delta, you have a levee, the steel bayou, and then the final unfinished feature is a set of pumps. To simplify it, a big bathtub was built, and they have not yet installed the drain. Now, decades of delay is primarily due to politics, what I would say are high-dollar campaigns, position entrenchments, and jurisdictional arguments. But Clay, I don't really want to talk about that with you. What I want to talk about is what has this been like to live through, where you live, where your family, your neighbors are, and your livelihood. Tell us what it's been like over the last few years.
Well, thank you for allowing me to talk to you about the Yazoo Backwater Project and its importance to the citizens of the South Delta. Not only me, but there are a lot of citizens that are affected by this. My particular farm consists of family members, and 4,000 of the acres that I farm are in the Yazoo and Sharkey County area that's within the Yazoo backwater area. And in 2019, which we flooded 8 out of the last 10 years, but 2019 is the most remarkable and the one that most remembered because it was the highest elevations of those. And during that 2019 flood, my farm, the 4,000 acres in the Holly Bluff area, was entirely flooded, and so I had no crops and no source of income on those acres, which was typical of most farmers within the Yazoo backwater area.
Now, how do you get through something like that? I mean, that is absolutely devastating. What did you do?
Well, my son and I built a levee around our house and our farm shop area. We're fortunate we had the equipment and the resources to do that, where a lot of people do not. I farm, so I had some of the equipment that allowed me to do it in a faster, cheaper fashion than others could have. And when you have flooding of homes, 600 to 700 homes flooded and hundreds of others affected, there's not enough equipment, time, and resources to adequately protect that. But we were fortunate. We got a levee around ours, and at the highest point was a few inches from overtopping, which would have been devastating for my home and my farm area. And my son, who farms with me, his home was in a location that we couldn't build a levee, and so he lost his home during the 7-month flood.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that. And I know that it doesn't make it better, but you are certainly not alone in this endeavor. It's, as you said, impacted over 600 homes, lots of businesses, lots of very important institutions throughout the community. Now, I saw one of your fundraisers you've participated in. You've been very involved in the Pumps Project itself, but also helping your community get through this. One of them was called the Anderson Jones Senior Family Fundraiser to build a levee around a home. So without the Pumps Project being complete, folks are starting to build their own levees. You mentioned that you were able to do this, but this comes with a cost. How much does something like that cost, and how common is it, especially in the Delta, for people to have that as an option?
Well, the cost is relative to the levee you put up, and relative to the elevations and the things that surround that. But how common is it? It is not common. It's a very last minute temporary solution. A lot of people think you build a levee around your house, well, you continue to go on and live and you just got protection. Well, that's not true. First of all, you may have protected your home, but most septic systems, your water lines, your electrical lines, they all are are well, the water lines under the water, the electrical lines above the water, and they can't continue to function with water all around it. Well, you have to get in and out of a levee system around your house. You have to pump the water out, the rainwater, which is
Hmm.
exactly what we are asking with the Yazoo backwater pumps. Is we've got a levee around homes, and I had three pumps running around mine. I didn't expect to not have pumps in the interior of a levee and not be flooded. When you're flooded, it doesn't matter whether you're flooded by rainwater or backwater or or wherever the water comes from, you're still flooded. So we have helped a lot of people helping other people build levees, but that is not a long-term solution. The only long-term solution is finishing the Yazoo backwater pumping plant, and that's what we're about.
Well, and the perpetuation of this project not being finished, it's caused lots of harm to the people and the surrounding land. But you've talked about this in terms of it being an environmental injustice. I know that you've participated in the past, something called a Federal Advisory Committee at the U.S. EPA, the National Environmental Justice Advisory Council. Can you talk a little bit about why not finishing the pumps is an environmental injustice, and as some of our state leaders have stated, continues to perpetuate a cycle of poverty in the South Delta region?
Yes, the Mississippi South Delta is 71% minority, excuse me, and 30% of those live below the poverty line. Um, Arguably, the Mississippi Delta is ground zero for poverty in probably in the entire U.S. And the Biden administration has and is promoting environmental justice for the impoverished within the United States. And I think there's a bill, maybe even today, that addresses that. And if you look up the definition in Wikipedia of environmental justice,
Hmm.
the first sentence I believe would have to uh, describe protecting the impoverished people of the South Delta by installing the Yazoo backwater pumping plant. That, in my mind, is the definition of environmental justice, because we in the South Delta have been served an injustice year after year after year, uh, and only hurt the most vulnerable people probably in the United States. And so to continue to allow that to happen, whether it's an NGO that's against it or the EPA, a government organization, to continue to do that, knowing the effects that it has. If it's not criminal, it should be.
Well, look, Clay, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story, for the work that you have done for your community and your representation on this issue. It's very simple. The pumps need to get done for the well-being of that community. I wish you well, and again, thank you for